It's been almost a year since CSS were added to DBFZ. Even from the beginning, there was always talks if it was worth running. Most strong players of the game were immediately pulled off with a high cooldown timer, while low-level players were actually frustrated of this new assist type because of how easily it tracks you while you're trying to learn how to play neutral. However, there was always believers of this assist type since the beginning, and many of them found ways around the weaknesses of the assists, like DCing out the C assist character, that sounds weird me saying, to reduce the cooldown timer.
Yeah, boy.
As the new meta was forming, new team comps were being explored due to not being restricted to one assist type per character. Eventually, some people realized that C-Assist offered a new assist type that can complete a team comp with a character that usually wouldn't be able to do so. If you're confused on what I'm talking about, let's take Season 2 for example. In Season 2, the most used anchor was SSJ Goku. One of the reasons of his huge pick rate in tournaments and high level Dragon Ball was simply for the fact that he was a solid character with a beam assist. Now let's say in Season 3 you want that beam assist. Well, you have all these characters that can give you traditional beams. But let's say you don't like any of them. You also have all these dumbass characters that have a beam too as their C assist. Japan and European scenes have eventually embraced this assist type. Even the team that won the Japan's nationals had a C assist in it, Gotenks beam. But Yeehaw Town is more reluctant on the assist type. There's a lot of Twitter arguments, some shit talk. But what do I think? Me, SC Mobster. I only run teams with A and B assists, but that's not because I think C assists are completely worthless. I just think my main doesn't use C assists very well at all, and so I will suffer more of the cons than a lot of other people might. If I was going to run an assist with a longer cooldown timer, I want to guarantee advantageous situations from that assist call. What are these tools? Key blasts are a huge one. I cannot emphasize how strong spammable key blasts are in this game to begin with. But they create a direct way where the person has to deal with the C assists in some way. Beams are another one, although more committal, it can lead to similar situations. Extremely fast projectiles in general are also in this category too. So like UI Goku's 5S, Jiren's 5S, Vegito's downward ki blast, just for some examples. It's also a plus if your character needs to charge a move up or something, kind of like base Goku's Spirit Bomb move. So what tools does Piccolo have to set up these situations? Nothing, basically. Well, yeah, he can control the screen with his orb, control parts of the screen with the character itself. It's much harder to get the guaranteed situations from C assist. So A and B is just much stronger for the character. While yes, you can theoretically call a C assist out like a normal assist, especially if it's a C beam, but what happens if the person avoids it? If you don't have that assist ready, it affects every character much more differently because of their tool set. Piccolo is affected heavily because he doesn't have any tools to play full screen neutral. So if the C assist that was called failed to do anything, it becomes much harder for Piccolo to play full screen neutral when he's waiting a very long time for the assist to come back, making it much harder to play those bad matchups like A21, Vegeta, Vegito, etc. Now, I'll admit that this is a very character-specific problem, but my other two characters, Blue Goku and Z Broly, don't suffer from the same weaknesses as Piccolo does. But even then, this goes to my next point, where a good chunk of the cast actually has stronger A and B assists than their C assists. Like, again, let's take for example Piccolo C. It's not bad on paper. It's literally an invincible defensive assist that has pretty good tracking, and it tracks in the air as well. But compare this to two orbs that are tracking towards your opponent, forcing them to actively do something while dealing with your offense. That also can be used defensively. That in combos, it's basically having two assists, and you can also use it for extremely strong Oki. This is also one big problem I have with C assist. I'm not here saying that Everyone's A and B assists are better than their C assists. What I'm saying is that there's a good chunk of the cast where it's just clear their A and B assists are just better. Let's take for example some characters. SSJ Goku, Beam Assist is better. UI Goku, Jam Session is better. GT Goku, Bardock, Goku Black, Roshi, Nappa, Trunks, Tien, Vegito, Yamcha, Zamasu, Janemba, Android 17, Android 18, Krillin, Hit. All these characters have better options than their C assists. And this is a good chunk of the cast. Like, a good amount of characters that have this problem where their C assists are just plain not worth running, in my opinion. But I'm not here to discredit the assist type in general. I get that a lot of characters have really strong C assists, like especially the beams and like Z Broly's are pretty standout C assists in my head. However, specific characters can take full advantage of their strengths, and sometimes there might be better options that have a better cooldown timer. But if none of these cons I've brought up bothered you, if your team can take advantage of that C assist very well, because they have tools to do so, and even if it's not a beam C assist or Z Broly C assist, maybe it's a C assist from one of those characters I just mentioned, then go ahead and try it. I mean, fuck it, maybe I'm wrong, right? It's not like you can't succeed with them. Anyways, that's all I have for today, I guess. Again, basically, there's good C assists, there's bad C assists. There's some good C assist, but their A and B option are better, and there's some where they're clearly the A or B option are better. So yeah, I mean, it's a team game. Just go out there, experiment. Just go play Dragon Ball. Unless you can't stand a netcode, then go play, I don't know, Them's Fighting Hurts. See ya.
Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey.